So, listeners, this is a really special episode because it is marking a really big transition of how the wise one grows. Kelly and I are about to go into a little creative cocoon, and we're going to have a little double chrysalis, which if you listen all the way to the end, that will make sense.
If not, very confusing.
Yes. But for those who have been here for how the wise one grows from the very beginning, I started this podcast in 2022 when I was feeling really lost and confused, and I just sat in a closet in the dark with a lantern as my light and did something I had been really scared to do for a long time, but I really wanted to grow and step into, and I really wanted to be intentional about how I was growing. And over the last 3 years, I've just had conversations that have changed my life, heard from so many people who have helped create this podcast and community that have been so impactful, and I have been transformed and really just so grateful for this opportunity and this podcast. And I am it's so bittersweet because I love what this podcast is coming from, and I am so excited for the way that Kelly and I are evolving it. So if you've been catching on, Kelly's doing the thing with us now.
I'm here, bitch.
She's here, bitches.
It's gonna be a lot more profanity, a lot more ridiculous laughter, and stuff that maybe people would be like, "What are you talking about?" Unless they listen to the full episode, and then they'll get it.
Then you'll get it. It's so much more fun. I'm just so excited that we're putting this podcast in our sweet little creative cocoon, and we're going to bloom into some new things. So we're going to be taking a pause for now while Kelly and I just go into this really cool creative cocoon process together and work on creating the podcast of our mother flippin' dreams with you.
Yes.
We really want to hear from you. We want you to leave comments on our podcast, send us voice memos, send us emails. All the info will be in the show notes. Follow us on social media. We'll keep you updated and do polls to get your input on how we're creating and evolving this. But get ready for 2026 for season 2, evolution 2 of a podcast with Holly and Kelly.
Yes, a podcast title TBD.
TBD, we need your help on that.
One of the things that might come out of the chrysalis, who knows, or the cocoon.
Yeah.
And
I just some polls.
I want to say I feel so incredibly honored. Tell me why I was just fully tearing up while you're over the last 3 years. I'm it's so beautiful. I have loved listening to the podcast, and there have been so many things since long before I was in any way involved in it that I would specifically be I'm curious about this topic, and then find that Holly had interviewed someone. We talked specifically about child free and that discussion and all of these things that I'm wow, this is it's so cool. And I'm so excited and honored that what did we decide it was over a year ago when we first, because I think the first thing that we did was you, me, and Emma when we did most embarrassing stories. And
gem of an episode.
But truly, I think that was such a beautiful intro, where at the time I was thinking, this is so fun. We're going to have so much fun in the same room doing one episode together. And then we did have so much fun. And then it was wait, I kind of want to do more of this. And then we started doing more together. And I'm so excited for what iteration 2, season 2 is going to look like on the other side of that hiatus, because Holly and I have already been scheming and brainstorming, and literally I think we just spent the last hour before recording this being wait, I'm writing that down, that should be something in season 2. So very excited to be embarking on this journey. And yes, please send us all of the things, all of the name ideas, all of your embarrassing stories. Why not? All of your things you would love there to be a podcast about and you've never heard one,
Send us that ish. We love it.
Yeah.
And today, you get to listen to us. I actually think it's really fitting to be the transitional episode, because the conversation we had in this episode, listener, that you're about to listen to is so going to inform us as we move into this like creative cocoon of creating season 2 of the podcast, because we talk all about your creative identity and like what it means to be a creative, like how we create, what structures work, what doesn't work, what limiting beliefs stop us. It is just like such a grounding conversation that I think every creative needs to listen to, and that we will probably need to re-listen to as we move through this creative process together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even in the episode, like the day that we recorded it, I feel like we both were having some like, oh yeah, what that's so vague, like creativity and creative identity. How do we even begin to like section this down or pare this down and talk about it? And it really was one of the most beautiful, natural kind of rambling conversations where we just got, the more we were talking, things were clicking and we were like, yes, and this thing. And it's just so beautiful. And yeah, I'm really proud of this conversation and also just like this space that we get to share with all of you.
Me too. I love you. I'm excited to tuck our sweet babies into this creative cocoon episode.
Creative cocoon, friend blanket,
burrito.
Little burrito. It's a creative burrito.
Yes.
Yes. On today's episode, Holly and Kelly talk about all things creative identity. That's what we're gonna talk about when you listen with your ears. Yeah.
Listeners, you should be super proud of Kelly and I, because I am. Because we logged on to do the podcast. We were so excited to record. And of course, the technology doesn't work. But then I logged on and it was Kelly. And instead of freaking out, I was just like, oh man, this is what's happening. And Kelly knew what I was talking about. And I was relaxed. And she was relaxed. And then we figured it out. And now we are streaming through your ears.
We're doing it. We're streaming all the way straight through your ear. Into your beautiful brain. Into your beautiful brain. I feel like I always thought about specifically the technology side of music and like whatever creative path I was on, and was like, it's so intimidating. And if I don't look and act and talk like the people that I see like interfacing with the technology all the time, then I won't be doing it right. And I feel like what is literally so silly but beautiful to me, and like honestly just made me so grateful to be here with you, is like we literally figured out a probably really simple technology problem, but we also did it like kind of telepathically and using words like we're Ariel the Little Mermaid, where it's like the thingy-majig and the flugelhopper. If you plug in that to the...
And we knew what we meant.
And we still got it.
I wanted to start a podcast for years before I started this podcast. Like so many years. And I just got so wigged out by like, oh, figuring out all this technology and having to edit. I was like, oh, I can't have a podcast because I don't know how to edit stuff, or like I'd have to pay someone. And then I eventually just got over that, and I've learned so much tech and audio stuff. Like I'm not good at it. Like I can do it. I'm not like great at it, but like I know what I'm doing now. And I just learned how to do it, and it opened up this whole door of creativity to me. And I think you're so right though, because like women aren't like doing like represented doing that stuff a lot. So like when I can learn from another woman who and just vibe with someone who can like talk to me about it in the same way, like I feel like I can do it. I feel a little more understood. Even just like this medium of having more female voices on a podcast is so important. We just need our voices in more spaces and showing us that, yes, we can figure out these things. Your voice is just as valuable. You are just as smart. You can do these things. No one's just really shown you how or communicated it to you in a way that resonates with you.
And I love doing this podcast with you because I love that we can have such different ideas generally and still get along. Like I firmly believe that women belong in the kitchen. honestly so right. Where like I feel like I would look at things that other people knew how to do that I didn't know how to do. And for a long time, the immediate response in my head after like jealousy, like there was this element
Mm-hmm.
for so long of like, I wish I had started that when I was younger, but it's too late now kind of thing, which is A, so stupid. B, like
Yes.
I'm 32. I am not like 105, you know?
We're like fresh out of the bun still, or fresh out of the oven. Clearly, I belong in the kitchen.
We're like fresh out of the bun.
Mm-hmm. Fresh out of the
What?
bun.
I don't even know what an oven is called. I thought it was called a bun. That's how not in the kitchen I am.
Yeah, so not in the kitchen.
She's a technology queen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've had this like revelation where I think I've just looked at people who know how to do things that I don't. I get
Mm-hmm.
jealous at them, or like
Mm-hmm.
jealous that they started younger or whatever, or they just like have a natural talent. That's a big thing. Is that I
Mm.
think I'll be like, oh man, I wish I was a technology person, but like I'm just not. So therefore, I guess I'll never start a podcast. I guess I'll never
Mm-hmm.
record my own music. I get like whatever. And I set so many limits on myself.
Yes.
But I truly feel like there's been, thank God, like a big shift in the last 6 months, year-ish for me, where I kind of feel like I am getting better at making a deal with myself when I notice something that I
Mm-hmm.
feel like jealous that another person is
Mm-hmm.
doing and capable of, where I'm like, okay, it's kind of getting curious instead of judgmental, where it's like, okay, cool. What would be the very first like manageable step towards me knowing how to do that?
Yes.
And then I just follow that path. And if I do the one small step and I'm like, oh, hell no, I have no interest in this, then great. I learned that about myself. But
Mm-hmm.
what I have seen happen, which is so like such a good feeling, and I feel like you have been on your own journey of this too, is taking like one tiny step towards learning something or like whatever that you want to like work on,
Mm-hmm.
and then you like take one step and you're like, oh, that thing that I always thought was really hard was actually like shockingly easy. Maybe I am not a disaster walking trash
Mm-hmm.
pile and I can actually do something. And
Yes.
then you take the next step, and then you take that, and before you know it, you're like, yeah, I called it a thingy-mabob whatever. I don't know the name of the cable, but like I still solved the problem.
Yeah. This is what being a potter has taught me, is that
Mm-hmm.
like every potter is going to throw the same pot a different way. There is
Mm-hmm.
no like that you have to do it exactly this way. We think that life or anything we're doing, we have to do it a certain way. It has to look a certain way. It needs X end
Mm-hmm.
result. But you can still do it a million different ways. And
Yeah.
honestly, there is no right way. Just do the way that feels right for you. And also, like, if you're just trying something for the first time, or even not, like, it's good to be bad at stuff and to
Yes.
get over the fear of being bad, because that's
Yes.
what's stopping you from trying so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And like what you were saying before, I've been doing, and probably a lot of people listening, I'm curious if you started it yet, Kelly, the Chani breakthrough course.
Yes.
One of the days she talks about like witnessing jealousy specifically as
Mm.
an indicator for like what are things you want to
Yeah.
do, what like that is an indicator. When you get that, there's a difference between like jealousy and comparison, but
Mm-hmm.
jealousy can be a big lightning bolt for you of like, oh, like a part of me feels like unfulfilled in this area, or it wants
Yeah.
that thing. Like it's not about the other person, it's about the energy in you that wants to move through and take different shapes. Witnessing that with that different approach, like you were saying, with that curiosity instead, is so healing. And
Yeah.
it just can make jealousy feel like more of a personal journey in a
Yeah.
cool way.
I love that.
um And then I think like what you're saying too, like whether it's technology or for like a lot of people it is creativity,
Mm-hmm.
that fear of, oh, I don't know how to do that, I'm not good at it. These are
Mm-hmm.
all the things that stop us from ever starting. Or like once you are like someone who vibes with creativity and you want to do it, but then you're like, well, how do I do it? What does being a creative look like? What does being an artist look like? And I think that same conversation of am I doing it right comes into play so much living and working and trying to make a living as someone
Yes.
who loves creativity. And it doesn't just have to look like you're an artist who makes your full-time living from their art. And it, for
Mm-hmm.
most of us, won't look like that.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Kate, my sister. She basically talked about like kind of having her own realization epiphany moment of whatever my art is, I can do it in a way where it does become my career. And it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And this is also what I depend on for money. I'm trying to think of the way she said it, but basically she was like, I could like do everything right on paper. And also, like, that might not mean that I am the best artist I can be. Being the best artist and
Yes.
like writer I can be might look like selling absolutely nothing, like whatever, because I was actually like really like listening to the path that was like, write about this, do this, like explore this
Yes.
thing. And she was talking about how much amazing art will like never see or hear or read or whatever, but it doesn't mean that the people who made it are not some of the best artists of our time, you know?
Yes, and their art still mattered. Like
Yes.
whatever you make, even if it's bad, the algorithms, the money, none of that actually is indicative of what good art is.
Yeah.
As a creative or as an artist, really you are. And like
Mm-hmm.
what is good art for you, and why do you want to make? And why do you want creativity or your art practice, your creative practice? Why do you want that to be a part of your life? And I think when
Mm-hmm.
you think about that, you get to define what success as a creative is for you. And then you can kind of work backwards with how to
Mm-hmm.
piece it into your life. I notice this so often. I was talking to one of my friends in the clay community, and a big thing we've been talking about is how people take a ceramics class and then they just are like, now I've quit my job after a year and I'm trying to sell ceramics full
Mm-hmm.
time. And it's like, why do we have to monetize every creative pursuit we have or
Yes.
artistic hobby? Can we just make something for the purpose of making it? And like
Mm-hmm.
that is fulfilling and that is
Yeah.
enough. And that is, you know, why do we tell ourselves that a livelihood has to come from our art to make it worth value? Or
Yeah.
why do we feel this like pressure to push, like if we're making art we should be showing it or selling it? Like why
Mm-hmm.
does that end result drive us so much? People relate capitalism with their creativity, like
Yes.
really comes into play, because you're like, well, if I'm not making money or if I didn't get these followers or whatever, it's not worth it. But
Yeah.
that's not why you sat down to make in the first place, probably, you know?
Yeah. Doing art for the sake of doing art at its best is like almost a sensory feeling of like, what do you feel? What was that feeling in your body as maybe a kid or maybe a young adult or maybe a grandma, grandpa, like whatever, however old you
Mm-hmm.
are? What was the thing that pulled you towards it and like towards creating and towards making? And I feel like that is the thing that so often gets kind of quietly left behind
Yes.
when you start to monetize your art. And this is actually an interesting thing because part of what we wanted to talk about today is, you know, kind of holding a balance and how you do that between flexibility and rigidity in like
Mm-hmm.
schedule. And it's so tempting to go to my, you know, full-time day job and then be doing whatever else I'm doing and like be like, oh, this would be so much better if I just like didn't have to work and I could just do this all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, I feel like everything in my life up to this point has been a lesson to me in how I work and how I
Mm.
like feel my most connected to that version of myself that's like the kid like singing for the first time or
Mm.
whatever, you know? It's such a beautiful gift to get to tap into that feeling. And I think that especially because of, as you said, capitalism and the way our society
Mm-hmm.
functions, where anything that someone sees that is unique to you, they're like, how can I sell this? How can I
Yes.
help them sell this? Like, there's so much love and well intention there, but it's like people want you to succeed, and the success looks a very specific way to our society. I feel like in the last 2 years, I went through such a sudden shift of like leaving Nashville, like also mental health was involved, so like was not doing well there. But so it, whatever, there were other reasons, but like I feel like I just totally was like, oh, this means I've failed. Like I moved back home to my hometown. I like left what was like, is an incredible community that I'm so lucky to still be like incredibly close with. Everything I feel like on paper was showing me like, oh shit, I like gave up. I failed. I'm not going to make it or whatever. And everything that has like shifted in the 2 years since has brought me not only to that feeling of like being a kid and being excited about the thing you're making again, but also having the lived experience to know that I actually work way better with some boundary and some schedule. And like, so now I'm like in a process of treating my creativity and my art like the second job that it is. And but like in a beautiful way where it's like, oh my gosh, I get to split my time between my day job and then doing like following my creative passion. And I feel like just again doing like the one foot in front of the other has been so monumental in me being like, oh, actually I can totally do this.
Yeah, I really feel like you've kind of like tapped into your like creative awakening as you've like stepped into this next chapter, like in what on the outside sure could look like, oh, I left like the city where I was pursuing music, but I've seen you like
Yeah.
step into creating more, pursuing more, like having shows, like putting out new
Yeah.
songs, like taking these really cool classes. And I feel how inspired you are. And I think that's something we do a lot is we suffocate our creativity with pressure, whether it's like financial pressure or it's this pressure of perfectionism.
I think it was January, maybe February. I did the School of
Mm-hmm.
Song course with Philip Weinrobe, which was incredible. I'm so obsessed with School of Song. At one point, he was sharing his schedule for a day that he had written down
Mm-hmm.
when he had, because he's an incredible engineer and producer. The number one thing that is most important is connecting with that like creator self and following what feels great about that. And so like we've talked about how kind of whatever you want to call it, being in the flow creatively, whatever your medium is like a real magic. Like it feels like you sometimes you can literally like look at the clock and be like, it's been 6 hours. Like what, like I was just in it, you know? And it's
Mm-hmm.
so cool. But one thing that I loved so much about the Philip Weinrobe course was that he showed us a schedule that he had written for a weekend when he was recording with an artist. And he was talking about how intensely rigid he is with his schedule about everything surrounding the actual, now we're going to turn the mics on and hit record and record the thing. His point was like, the more parameters and boundaries and like everything has like detail and structure to it in the day, except the part where we're actually creating. And that is where you just like let yourself go. That was something where I was like, I love that he's almost distracting himself and like the artists that are there with it, where it's like, let's literally have everything else be so controlled and like finely tuned that when it's time to let our creative side be, the more like logistical, stressy editor side is like tired from the day and can like just chill.
I mean, like we did that episode with Molly on internal family systems. I think it's episode 117. Should totally go listen to it. And they talk about like having a spicy container to like if you have a parameters and you can bump up against it and like be free, like if there's a structure, you can be playful, you can be freer, and that structure is necessary for that like sense of safety and relaxation and ease, to feel safe to play and create and bump against the edges. So like what a beautiful way to honor the analytical part that your creative needs. Like we need that person to get things done, to make things, to put it out there, to make the best work that we can. And we need that part to shut the fuck up when it's time to actually create. What we need to remember as creatives is how to listen to our body signals, how to listen to our creativity cues of like what we really need, and what like, you know, there's not going to be the perfect causes and conditions all the time to create, and like don't let that stuff stop you. Sometimes you just have to create when things are imperfect, and that's just the majority of life.
Yes.
And like what can you do to like help your creative energy flow? Because sometimes like really resting or like doing something different, like trying a new medium and being just bad at it, like things, other things can spark stuff in you. Like I think I've unblocked some of my creative energy by doing these like doodles every day that are like just for me, like it, and I don't expect it to be good. I'm not trying to make it good. I'm just trying to like let that energy move through me, whatever it is it anger, is it sadness, is it like a creative spark, like but that has to move through, and then I can create the other thing, and my mind can think about these other things in different ways.
That is literally me and knitting right now.
Yeah, Kelly like picks up and starts knitting in the middle of this. I love it.
Looks like a giant diaper, I'm realizing on screen. It's going to be a sweater.
A giant diaper could be nice too.
A giant acrylic wool diaper.
No PFAs in that shit, okay?
Holly, are you like by chance in grad school to be a therapist or something? Because I feel like you're just like acing it tonight.
Okay, well, that is one of the limiting beliefs I've told myself a lot about being a creative. Like I have thought about being a therapist for like a decade. And like always stopped myself from going back to school for like, I mean, a lot of reasons. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of things, but probably the biggest reason was like I told you this, like I felt like that meant giving up on like my creative practices, or like believing in myself, believing that I can like, you know, make it with this podcast, like with my wellness offerings and my creative pursuits, like that, the weird world of whatever I'm doing. Like I felt like that becoming a therapist was like giving up on that and on those parts of me, and I like wasn't gonna do that. And when I reframed the story, like I noticed that story that I was telling myself, and I had this moment of like, what if that story isn't true? And what if like going back to school to work as a therapist strengthens all of those other parts? And what if that's like the backbone and the structure, or like the parameter and the container that you need for those other parts to fully flourish and bloom? And like I think that is the biggest limiting belief I've told myself as a creative and an entrepreneur, because I have been, you know, doing this work for like my whole adult life, you know, and we put so many limits on ourselves in different ways. And I think all of us have some sort of false story we're telling ourselves that's stopping us from some part of our fullness that like we deserve to bloom into.
100%. Okay, can I ask you on that, when was it, or what was it that shifted for you, where you did have that kind of epiphany of being like, what if this isn't true?
I think a lot of it was when I started to like lean into my creativity more without the
Mm.
pressure as much. Like I had been working full time teaching pottery, like making pottery, teaching yoga, like I got so burnt out and I
Mhm.
didn't want to make anything and I didn't want to get behind the wheel. I didn't want to step on my mat, but I
Yeah.
had to keep moving to keep sustaining myself. And those were
Mm.
like my things for my mental well-being. And I took a long time to like step away and like I worked in different ways that were more sustainable for me
Mhm.
and got to give myself back some of those gifts and have fun with it again. And I think from losing it and then coming back to it, it developed stronger roots. And I think
Yeah.
I've spent the last few years really figuring out how to deepen my roots in my creative practices and my healing practices. And it's in a way where I'm like, they will always be with me and they will
Mm.
always inform what I do. And I feel so confident in them now
Yes.
and how core and vital they are to me that I'm like, I'll never leave you behind.
Yeah.
I will never leave you behind. And I
Mhm.
will always weave you in ways that strengthen what we're doing. And I think I just started to notice what other limiting, like I'd noticed different stories I had about stopping myself from stepping into this next chapter. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I think I was just feeling creative and confident enough in those areas to look at the situation in a new way. I think my
Yeah.
creativity helped me see different perspectives of my life and paths and ways that it could wind,
Mhm.
but I had to be creative about the way I was thinking about it. So when my energy was stuck before, I couldn't even creatively think about the way I wanted my path to unfold.
Yeah. The times in my life when I have been most distracted away from creativity with job, with other things that are going on, those are the times that I've been like pulled the most to be creative. I was literally looking through my voice memos in my phone and realizing how many of them from years ago were recorded in the bathroom of the Spice Club in Niantic, Connecticut, where
Mm.
I worked. Like, I don't know, there was just like there was so much structure around it that I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, I want to go create. And it was like stealing little moments, which was so exciting again.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel
It's like
like
having a
that.
lover, like a little secret lover.
It's like
Your
having a
creative
lover.
lover. Yes.
She dips one sweater.
She does. She's channeling her Sex in the City, her creative
Yeah.
Sex in the City. Watch
Oh
on
my
YouTube. You're
God.
missing out.
Oh my God. Holly is coming on to me through the screen.
Your creativity is, BB.
Oh my God. When I was creatively burnt out, like from music and from writing, I was like talking such a big talk. I feel like about what my plans were and what I was doing and
Mm.
whatever. And I literally was just talking to my sister about this, that I have been dealing now with a good amount of like I'm going back to perform my first show in Nashville since 2023, which is exciting and scary. Yeah, and I'm realizing that it's like I'm actually creating again because I've stopped like caring about what it looks like, what my creating looks like from the outside. You talked about this earlier, like having little parameters or even having distractions where you're like, I'm gonna do my doodling in the morning and just
Mm-hmm.
like have something else to kind of be like occupying a part of my creative brain and like not having this pressure on me. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I so resonate with what you said of like I'm actually like making, like I'm actually getting into my studio
I'm
a
having fun
little bit
again.
every day. And I'm
Yeah.
making so much more than I was when I was like thinking about how I would have like the perfect full day studio day and whatever. And that we never actually get to that plan because we're just like sitting
Exactly.
thinking about it. Oh.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really hard if you are a creative, whether you're
Mhm.
like trying to work as a creative and make your livelihood, like if that's the path you're doing, that is amazing. And also, like, I hope that you can have parameters for your just like creative part to play and create too, because
Mhm.
like the reality of living as a creative is like, hopefully we can all be creating exactly what we want, exactly how and when we want it, and be making our livelihood. And for those of us out there doing that, it is possible, and I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you.
Mm.
And it's not always going to be like that on that path, and it might not always look like that for everyone and anyone. And like, if it doesn't look like that for you, which like most people it probably
Yeah.
didn't when I was doing that, like, you do have to, you have to have like bread and butter, like you have to have something that like provides for you, so that
Mhm.
you can, like, you got to do what you got to do to survive. And if creating is the way you're doing that, great. But then like let your inner creative out, like give some like space to just play and create, so you can like keep that energy and bring that fullness into the rest of your
Mhm.
work too, if
Yeah.
that's how you move through it. Well, like on the other side, if you're someone who like has a like, because you and I have talked a lot about like feeling like, oh well, if I get this type of job, then
Mhm.
that's giving up on my creativity
It's
or my
saying goodbye. I'll
dream.
never be this other
It's
thing.
saying
Yeah.
I'll never be it. But maybe that is what strengthens you to getting to the point of being able to be that thing. Maybe having
Mhm.
a little bit of like financial fresh air can give you
Yes.
the space to create and like enliven that spark again, and have the skills and the capacity that you need to like step into that thing fully, if and when
Mhm.
that's what you yearn to do. But like, I
Yeah.
don't think saying yes to anything is necessarily saying no to your creativity, if you're like conscious about your reasonings for the choice, and like
Mhm.
you understand that, and you stop telling yourself the false truths. Like, if you
Yes.
think that's what that means, then that is what it will mean.
Yep.
But if you think that it means you're actually like giving your creativity like an oxygen mask, like, and you're gonna like
Mm.
get stronger, and it's like going to the gym for your creativity, then like you're gonna keep creating in really dope ways.
The oxygen mask is such a great analogy for your creativity. I think that's so great. I could be wrong. I probably am. But I cannot think right now of a like creative hobby of any kind that if you want to do it to a certain point, it doesn't also cost you money. You know what I mean? Like I'm like
Yeah.
it's free to write a
Yes.
song. Of course, it's free to sing, but if
Not to
I'm like
record it.
and I want to connect with people and I know that
Mm-hmm.
part of what we talked about at the beginning, like a lot of the times the part of what I want to do with my life of creating and sharing music and performing music, a lot of the times the part that is solitary and it's me writing it, it does not look glamorous, and that is not fun, and that is like the tough thing that like I have to sometimes be like, you're going to sit down and you're going to write for an hour even though you don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yes.
that's what's going to kickstart something. And like
Yes.
it's in the artist's way. She talks about making a deal with the creator or the universe or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, you take care of the quality, I will take care of the quantity. And I
Mm.
love that so much, because it's like, yeah, just sit down, just get
Mm-hmm.
into your studio once, get on the wheel once. And I think that anything you want to do creatively probably will also cost you money. So the
Yes.
idea that you should immediately quit your day job because you're going to be a potter is like this thing that we've been sold of. It's also kind of like it's how the struggling artist has been romanticized in our
Yes.
society, where it's like,
Let's untell that story.
I was going to ask if you have also had this, again, well-intentioned, but advice from people in your community, specifically older people. The amount of times I have been told in earnest, get the worst, most awful 9 to 5 you can possibly get, because truly, this is something I've heard from so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more miserable you are at your day job, the more of like a fire under your butt you'll have to go out and like pursue the thing. And In my experience, I think that was something that honestly I heard first when I was leaving high school, and then I heard after leaving college and before moving to Nashville. I was getting a lot of that advice. And I feel like I am someone that it never fully rang true, but also in a way where I was like, that doesn't sound comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I took shame. I took that with so much shame where I was like, a real artist isn't supposed to need to be comfortable. Like, a real artist will take the shittiest job and write instead of sleep and whatever and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but the reality of me as a human being, let alone a creative person, is that if I have the shittiest job possible and and I make sure that my life is living hell because that's what's going to like motivate me somehow to create, I'm just kind of like, if that works for you, God bless. Like, enjoy. Don't enjoy, hate it, and then get to a place where you enjoy. Yeah, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. But
hate
for
it.
me,
Yeah, hate it and thrive.
if I made sure my life was miserable, that is a death sentence to creating anything, because then I'm like, okay, now I'm like literally, and this was my life for so long, and like,
yes,
has only just started not to be, because I think I'm more aware of like, I have a choice in this and I have agency and it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I feel like I have been trying to live to that standard of like the struggling artist. And I'm like trying to romanticize like credit card debt and like barely being able to afford my rent and stuff. And then the reality is I'm like, great, I am sitting on songs that I recorded 5 years ago because I'm like, oh, right, it costs money also to like get these like mixed and mastered and then like get a music video and then get them like whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the way that like having some financial freedom in whatever the fuck 9 to 5 you want, or whatever is allowed to feel comfortable, by the way, to you too, so that you feel like your head is not below water, and then you can like, you're comfortable in a space where you're like, now I want to create something.
Yes, I have learned that my creative girly works best when she is rested, when she is fed, when she is not like, you can't be creative if your nervous system can't relax, if you're under a constant place of stress, you know? And some people, sure, the sadists out there, you rock it, baby. I love that for you. But I need the joy. I need the rest. I need the sleep. I need the food. My creativity does not work from a place of depletion. It works from a place of fullness. And that's the space I want to create from. So I have to be deeply devoted to taking care of me, to take care of my creativity. I unintentionally did that to myself when I lived in Nashville. I actually never heard that advice of get the most uncomfortable job. But that is precisely what I did right out of college. I worked at a coffee shop. I just wanted to be in Nashville because I saw so many people living life in like a different creative way. Like no one was really doing the 9 to 5. And I didn't really want to do the 9 to 5. So I wanted to see other ways of doing life. And everyone in Nashville is so creative, and people were living in just ways that I wanted to be around. But I was like, I will work at this coffee shop. I will nanny because I know I won't do these things forever. But I was so scared of like getting a 9 to 5 job. Like I have a general like upbeat attitude. I can see the positive in most situations. I could see myself like getting a job and being like, oh, like make myself happy. Yeah. And I knew that's not what like I needed to do. So I needed the like discomfort in my work to help me find out that path.
But that's a good point, is paying attention to where, again, just listening. Where am I right now and what do I actually need? Like if a little bit or whatever of that discomfort in one part of your life is something that you are going to find motivating, run with it. Like that's the thing that I think is so important, is just knowing like, because I think we've talked about creativity as like a season and going through different seasons of it. And sometimes like at the end of one season, you mourn creativity altogether because it's never looked another way. So you think it's gone. And then you're like, oh shit, this is just a whole different, okay, cool, we're back.
This is
like,
a new little bloom over here.
Yeah, you're just like, wait, I became another butterfly again after the
Look
chrysalis?
at me.
Oh my God.
I chrysalised again?
Stop, you guys. Stop. Yes, I'm the magnificent double chrysalis. Stop.
All right, listeners, get ready to have a double chrysalis with us. We're so excited to be back with you all in 2026. Be sure to follow, stay tuned for all the updates. And now we're going to jump into that creative cocoon.
Bye. Zzz. It's like a sleeping bag.
Yes.
Don't disturb us. We're hibernating.
Do not disturb.
You know what's hilarious about this is that I don't know if you know this about me. This is for everyone. This is a good story for the pod. And a good highlighting example of why we really do need your help, listener, in creating a name is because I'm not sure if I was the one who brought up the idea of chrysalis in that, or if you did, but we really riffed on it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're sitting here talking about creative cocoons, and I'm like, yeah. And the irony of all of this is that I am scared of and really, really dislike anything moth, butterfly. I hate to say it.
Oh, no.
Like,
you hate butterflies?
I don't hate them.
Oh my God.
And I will be,
Kelly.
here's the thing. I will say I am really not a fan. I really get freaked out by moths. Like, I really am not. I feel like itchy in my spine about moths the way that some people do about like worms or spiders. Yeah, so listener, maybe not anything cocoon related.
Kelly's like, cannot name it my greatest fear. Or maybe we must.
Or must we? Okay, well, yes. Give us a follow on Instagram, on Spotify, all the places, and we will we'll keep you in the loop as we figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, stay tuned. See what we make.
2026 is gonna be a big yeah for Hallie and Kelly. Did you notice that I almost said Hallie and Collie? Yeah.
Yeah.